Chapter 29. There were no introductions on the field tonight the way there had been before Game 1. They did bring out representatives from Post 38 in Orlando and from 226, and there was a young woman in an Army uniform who stood near home plate and sang the national anthem better than Hutch had ever heard it sung before. So there was some ceremony tonight, even if it didn't take nearly as long as it had on Friday night, which already seemed like a long time ago to Hutch. It was as if all the big shots from the American Legion wanted to make sure everybody at Roger Dean realized this was still a special occasion. As if anybody playing in the game needed to be reminded, Hutch thought. He didn't need songs or flags, and he was sure nobody else on the team did either. Mr. Cullen won tonight's coin flip, making the Cardinals the home team, meaning they had last ups again, just like they wanted. When he came back into the dugout, he called them all together in front of their bench. "I'm going to keep this short and simple," he said in a voice so quiet Hutch wondered if everybody could hear. "Boys, if you're lucky, you might get a handful of games like this in your lives. I don't know how many, nobody does, that's why you play. But what I do know is this. You've all got one tonight." His voice got a little bigger now. "And what I guess I want to ask you is, if you came here to lose the sucker." "No!" they yelled, loud enough for the whole ballpark to hear. "Are you still too young?" "No!" "Is this your time?" "Yes!" He put his hand out. They all reached in. "Now go make this a night nobody can ever take away from you." They broke their huddle and ran out from behind the dugout screen and took the big field. Rocket Rod Brown was throwing even harder tonight than he had in Game 1, even with 2 days rest. 9 up and 9 down, through the 3 innings, 6 strikeouts, only one ball, a fly ball to left by Darrell in the bottom of the second, out of the infield. "This is beyond dirty," Cody said after striking out, looking to end their third. "Long way to go," Hutch said. "I'm aware of that," Cody said, taking his glove and cap from Hutch. "But that last splitter he threw me, that was pure filth. If it's a movie, it's got one of those ratings where nobody under 17 is allowed to go." "We'll get to him," Hutch said. "When?" Cody said. They were already trailing 2-0 because of a two-run Rocket home run, and while Hutch was never going to admit this, he was starting to wonder just when they were going to do anything against Orlando as long as the Rocket was still pitching the way he was. When they finished throwing the ball around before the start of the fourth, Hutch ran in for a quick chat with Tripp, who'd really only thrown one bad pitch so far, the one Rocket had hit over the 325 sign and left. "One thing," Hutch said, taking the ball from Tripp and rubbing it up from him. Tripp said, "What?" "No more runs." Tripp got through the top of the fourth, one of the outs coming when Hutch ran like an outfielder toward short right and made an over-the-head catch on a ball the Orlando shortstop had hit. Then the Cardinals came to bat in their half of the inning. It started innocently enough with a walk to Hutch, but Hutch then stole second on the first pitch to Darrell, the first time all game the Cardinals had a runner in a scoring position. And with the Cards' best hitter at the plate in the form of Darrell, the Astros must have figured Hutch would stay put and let the hitter do his job. Maybe that's why the Rockets didn't even look back at Hutch when he had Darrell's 0-2 in the count. Hutch kept walking into a bigger lead, and as soon as Rocket went into his motion, he took off for third. Didn't even draw a throw. The pitch was high, and Darrell laid off it for a ball. The extra stolen base seemed to knock Rocket off the rails for a second. He overthrew his next pitch, a splitter that bounced about 2 feet in front of the plate and away from the Orlando catcher toward the Cardinals' dugout. Hutch didn't hesitate. He was coming all the way home. Their catcher got to the ball fast, and the Rocket was off the mound to cover the plate almost as fast. But Hutch beat the play with a straight-on slide, and the score was 2-1 now. "Cheap run," Rocket said when they were both still down on the ground, even giving Hutch a little shove as he stood up first. "Cheap, cheesy run." Hutch bounced up now, ignoring the shove, since the last thing he was going to do was get into it with their pitcher in a game like this. He did point at the Bank of America scoreboard, though. "Check it out," Hutch said. "They're going to put the run on the board anyway." Darrell flied out to deep center to end the inning. Yet at least the Cardinals were on that scoreboard now. They were still getting no hit, but they weren't getting shut out. It felt like something, maybe even more than just one run. It felt like hope, even the way the Rocket was still bringing it. It stayed 2-1 through the top of the fifth, even if it was a struggle for Tripp. He managed to get through the first four guys in the Orlando order without giving up another run, but needed 30 pitches to do it. The third out coming on a vicious line drive from Rocket Brown into Hank's glove at third. In the dugout, Mr. C told Tripp that had been his last pitch of the night. "Please let me stay in," Tripp pleaded when he got to the dugout. "I can hang in there against this guy. I know I can. I can stay out there as long as he can." "Son," Mr. C said, "you've already done the thing that makes everybody want to play this game in the first place." "What's that?" Been even better than you thought you could be, Mr. C said, and then shook his hand and told him to go get his first baseman's mitt. The Cardinals went quietly in the bottom of the fifth, and there was a slight delay when Chris Mahoney came out to pitch the top of the sixth because Rocket's landing spot had created a huge divot at the bottom of the mound, one the groundskeeper needed to fix. It gave Hutch a chance to take another look around, like taking one more snapshot of the night. His parents were in the same seats they'd been in for the first two games, the last row in front of one of the Comcast signs. Mr. and Mrs. Hester were next to them. And next to Mrs. Hester was a woman Hutch had never seen before, but who looked too much like Darrell not to be his mom. Hutch couldn't help but smile. The Orlando right fielder singled with one out in the top of the sixth. When Cody fumbled the ball in right center, the kid kept going and made second standing up. Their second baseman was next up and bunted the first pitch toward third, attempting to sacrifice with one out. Maybe the thinking in the Orlando dugout was that if they could get the guy over there, they could get one of those cheap, cheesy runs Hutch had gotten. Hank pitched up the ball with plenty of time to throw the runner out at first, but for some reason he rushed, maybe the nerves of the moment grabbing him by his throwing arm. The ball bounced in front of Tripp at first, and when he couldn't come up with it cleanly, everybody was safe. First and third, still just the one out, the Orlando left fielder coming up. Mr. C waved the infield in, not wanting to give up another run here, even if it meant giving up a shot at a double play. Because if they tried for a double play on some kind of slow roller and didn't get it, the game was going to be 3-1. A lead like that, the way Rocket was pitching, was going to feel like a lot more than 2 runs. And Hutch was starting to worry that the guy might have it in his head to go the distance. So if the ball was hit to Darrell or Hutch, they were coming home if the runner from third tried to score. Or they were going to hold him there and get an out at first. That was the plan anyway. Before Chris went back to the mound, Darrell called over to Hutch. Hey. Hutch shot him a quick look. Darrell said, It comes to us. We got this, right? And somehow, Hutch knew exactly what he meant without asking. Just knew. Somehow, in the last game, they were finally on the same wavelength. They were never going to be friends. They might not ever play together after tonight. They were just two teammates trying to figure out a way to win the game. At 2-2, the left fielder hit a grounder up the middle that Chris Mahoney barely missed, grabbing with his bare hand. The ball was headed right at second, which meant that it could have been Hutch's ball or Darrell's. Hutch let the shortstop take it. Darrell flashed to his left in front of the bag, and in that moment Hutch flashed right behind him. Because he knew. Home! Hank shouted from third. Hutch knew the shortstop wasn't going home. Darrell Williams gloved the ball and made no attempt to turn his body or even glance at second, just shoveled the ball with his glove to where he knew Hutch would be. Hutch didn't even bother with his glove hand, just barehanded Darrell's toss, and in the same motion, snapped off a throw to first that got the left fielder by 2 full steps and got the Cardinals the double play that got them out of the top of the sixth. The crowd at Roger Dean made a sound that seemed to be a lot bigger than the number of people in the place. Hutch smiled now, not because of the cheer, but because Darrell hadn't even stopped running after he gloved the ball over to Hutch. He just slowed ever so slightly and nodded as Tripp took Hutch's throw, and the ump at first made the out call, then kept running right into the Cardinals' dugout. Hutch came up with two on the bottom of the seventh. Alex had singled with 2 outs, a clean single up the middle, their first hit. Finally. Then Brown, still in there with a 2-1 lead, nobody warming up for Orlando, walked Brett. Hutch had noticed something watching Rocket pitch to Alex and Brett. He was throwing fewer splitters now, just relying on heat more and more. Then he proceeded to throw 4 straight fastballs to Hutch. Hutch had missed 2, and 2 had been out of the zone. Rocket wasn't just throwing fast now, he was working fast, and Hutch could see he was ready to throw the 2-2 pitch as soon as he got the ball back from his catcher, like he wanted to finish Hutch off right now. So Hutch decided to slow things down a little. He asked for time at 2-2, stepped out, rubbed some dirt on his hands, looked down at Mr. C in the first base coach's box as he did, saw Mr. C make a motion as if he had a bat in his hands. Then, right before he stepped back into the box, Hutch took a quick look into the stands. His dad was staring at the pitcher, but his mom smiled brightly at Hutch, like one more light in the stadium, and pointed to her head, telling him, in her own way, to dream a big dream for himself right here. A big hit. Rocket went into his stretch and came with high heat again, when the baseball announcers just loved to call high cheese. Hutch swung right through the ball, through it and underneath it, and not even close to it. The ball was right in his grill, and he'd been beaten by it, straight up. Rocket Brown stopped and pointed at him before he ran off the field. We're even now, he said. Game 3 still wasn't.